we have started in this multi-level inverter chapter. In that, we have studied the basics uh, of inverter. Okay, the basic operation, that is AC to DC to AC. In that DC to AC, as per our syllabus, we understand the three-phase two-level inverters, how the outputs are produced, what are the different switches we can use, what is the circuit configuration, how the waveforms are produced, okay, and what is the significance of these diodes, that also we have seen, okay, 120 degree and 180 degree. So 120 degree I left on you, 180 degree we have covered. Okay, so in that I told you there are techniques uh, to produce the pulses. Okay, so these techniques are named as a pulse width modulation. Okay, so in that pulse width modulation, there are different techniques are used. Okay, so I have listed very few to understand. So this pulse width modulation is very important as far as this inverter and any converter section is concerned, because whatever is the output we want in the circuit, okay, so based on this we produce um, the pulses, okay, and to produce these pulses we use these modulation techniques. Okay, so here single pulse width modulation, multiple pulse width modulation, sinusoidal pulse width modulation, trapezoidal pulse width modulation. There are other techniques are also space vector modulation. Okay, so out of these 4 5 techniques, this sinusoidal pulse width modulation is used in the major circuit. Okay, so we'll just have the introduction of this PWM techniques. What is how the pulses are produced. Okay, so we'll see one by one. So here we just see the single pulse width modulation. So single pulse width modulation refers to the only single pulse here. Okay, so okay, so single pulse width modulation, single pulse width modulation. In that we take for any modulation techniques, we refer the two signals. Okay, one is referred as a carrier signal, other signal is referred as a reference signal. Okay, so by using these two, we are using or we are producing the pulses. Okay, so how we are using this, for that you just see here. Here we have taken one reference signal. Okay, so that reference signal is having this rectangular type of nature here. Okay, so it is the that signal we have taken, and another signal is having some triangular type of a nature is there. Okay, so we have taken both these signals on the same axis, and here we are comparing this. Okay, and based on the conditions where we, if we want the output which is more than the reference, okay, or if we want, excuse me, sorry, I have one call is there. Okay, so we'll see. So for single pulse width modulation, we have two signals. We refer the reference signal and carrier signal. So based on the condition is given to produce the output. Okay, so here if you see what is the output is produced. So we are taking this part of this reference to this uh, at this gate pulse. Okay, so this is the G1 is the gate pulse. Okay, so we have to produce the gate pulse. So we are comparing this. Okay, so maybe you have used this concept in MATLAB for simulation and all this. So here we have to give the condition where if we want the output which is more than carrier, less than carrier. Okay, so based on this, this pulse is taken separately or this pulse is produced. Okay, so here if you see, so this is the name itself reflects the meaning, the single pulse width modulation. So here we use uh, the single pulse. Okay, and here the carrier signal. Okay, so we produce one pulse from this one single reference signal. Okay, so that is the reason it is referred as a single pulse width modulation. Okay, so the multiple pulses can be also produced by using this single pulse also. Okay, so as far as this method is concerned, single pulse width modulation, we take only the single pulse from this reference with respect to this carrier. So that is the reason here it is referred as a single pulse width modulation. Okay, so similarly, so if you see here, the two pulses are taken here. Okay, G1 and G4. Okay, and based on this, the output is produced here. V0 is the output is produced. So that is how. So these pulses were giving to the switches in the inverter. Okay, and based on this, we are getting the output. Okay, so yesterday also we have seen that. Now the second method, which is multiple pulse width modulation. Okay, so here also if you see, the name itself reflects the multiple pulse. Okay, in previous slide there was a single pulse width modulation. So multiple means pulses means we are taking more than one pulses. So okay, if you see, the frequency of the triangular wave is high here. Okay, and if you see the previous one, the frequency is very less. Okay, so here we use the high frequency carrier signals and we impose this high frequency carrier signals on the reference signal. Okay, and again based on the signals. Okay, so if you see, these are the points, intersection points of the carrier and the reference signal. Okay, so if we want the output, more output. Okay, then or the high pulse width. Okay, which is of the range of the pulse width. If we want to be high, then we have to take the output which is more than this reference. Okay, so if you compare this, okay, so if you see here, the output is taken less than the reference. Okay, so it means this pulse is only taken here. Okay, so if we want some more, then we can also take this part also in this way. Okay, in this way we can also take this. So that is again that producing the pulses is again depends upon the frequency of this uh, carrier signal. Okay, if the frequency of the carrier signal is high, then the high pulses or more pulses are produced. If the frequency of the carrier signal is less, then less pulses are produced there. Okay, so the same it is produced for the positive half and for this negative half. Okay, so if you see, the reference is having positive and negative, and based on our switching circuitry or our switching nature of the inverter or any converter, we apply these pulses to their respective switches and we produce the output. Okay, so these are the techniques which we are using. So this can also be used. Then sinusoidal pulse width modulation. So it is a very famous method. In short, it can also be called as a SPWM method. Okay, sinusoidal pulse width modulation. So here we take the high frequency carrier wave, okay, in triangular form, and we impose this high frequency carrier wave on this fundamental sinusoidal wave, okay, or sinusoidal signal, and again based on the comparison or the based on the intersection points of this high frequency carrier and this sinusoidal uh, signal, we take the pulses. Okay, so we again, as I told you in the previous slide also, we apply the condition where if we want the output more than the reference, more than or less than reference. Okay, so based on this the output is produced. Okay, so here if you see, here the output is produced which is less than this reference. Okay, so this is the sign. So this sign is our reference. Okay, so this is the sign. Right now you consider only this sign, okay, to understand. Okay, and if you see the output, which output is taken here, so this is the output. This part is only taken. Okay, this part is only taken. So this is the part, okay, which is the output of this reference. Okay, so if you see here, we are neglecting this part. Okay, so we are taking this part as it is. Okay, and we are getting this pulse. Okay, so this pulse width can also be varied. Okay, this pulse width can also be varied, as I told you, based on the frequency of this carrier and this reference. Okay, so here if you see, very small pulse width, which is less than G1, is also produced here by taking these intersecting points of this reference and carrier, uh, produced at the output, and we get this pulse. Okay, so these pulses are produced as per our need, and we are using this for our circuit. Okay, so this is the famous method which is majorly used for the for producing the pulse width. Okay, so in if we refer MATLAB, in MATLAB also we can do this. Okay, and there is one separate block is also available in MATLAB. Okay, so in that block is named as a pulse generator. Okay, so in that pulse generator, we directly give the duty cycle of the pulse which we want, and based on this, we directly get this. Okay, we directly get this. So this is how these pulses are produced, and this can be used. And the switches of the inverter or any converter circuit that turned on and off by using these pulses. Okay, so you see this, for some time this pulse is there. Okay, so for sometimes the pulse is absent here. It means for this much time only that switch is on. For this much time that switch is off. Again for this much time it is on and it is again off. Okay, so this is how we use this. Then trapezoidal pulse width modulation. Okay, it is a very rare technique, again it is used. Why it is named as a trapezoidal? Because here the reference signal used here as a, the nature of the reference signal here is trapezoidal in nature. So that is the reason it is named as a trapezoidal pulse width modulation. And carrier signal is used here is a high frequency carrier, triangular wave. Okay, and again the concept same, intersection points of uh, the carrier and the reference. Based on this we produce the output. Okay, and these output are referred as a pulses. Okay, and by using these pulses again we try. So there are so many techniques are used. There is a mathematical formulation is also there for this pulse width modulation technique. Okay, so as we have only the introduction in the beginning, so I have referred only the concepts of the PWM method. Okay, so here this is the short introduction of the PWM technique. Now we'll go to the actual hour concept. Okay, so this is the multi-level concept. So multi-level. So before that, let us understand why we go for this multi-level concept, and why we are ignoring the two-level concept. Okay, so two-level concept we are ignoring because, as I told you, here you can see this. Okay, so this is the two-level output. Okay, so this rectangular part is actually the output of the inverter. Okay, output of the inverter is always produced in the rectangular form. Okay, it is not directly in sinusoidal form. Okay, after connecting the filter circuitry, and we remove the unwanted part from this rectangular form, and we get the then sinusoidal wave. Okay, so here if you see, normally in two-level inverter we use, if you refer the single phase inverter, then we use uh, two switches, okay, for half bridge, and four switches for full bridge, single phase inverter. Okay, so to produce this output, okay, so one drawback is that we need to um, switch on and switch off these switches frequently to produce this output. Okay, so that is the reason what happens, uh, because of the switching, frequent switching of the switches. Okay, switches means it can be our SCR, it can be our transistor MOSFET, it can be IGBT. Okay, so because of the frequent switches, there is a switching losses takes place in the switches. Okay, even though producing this output without frequent switching is not possible, okay, still we have to control the switching of that particular switches which we are using in the circuitry, because of the frequent switching there is a loss. Okay, so that kind of a parameter we have to consider. So switching of one switch in the two level inverter is the frequency of the switching is very high. Okay, so that is the reason switching losses are there produced, so we have to avoid this. So that is the reason we go for multiple multi-level inverter circuitry. Second is that here we produce the only the two levels. Okay, so because of the two levels, the pulsating nature of the output is very high. Pulsating means the unwanted part is more, okay, and wanted part is less. Okay, so as we apply the circuit, if we connect the filter circuitry, the size of the L and size of the C, or depending on whatever is the filter we are using at the end of this inverter, that L and C value is very high. Okay, so we also need to invest more cost on the filter. Why? Because our aim is to get the pure sinusoidal waveform at the end of this inverter. Okay, so to remove the unwanted part in two level inverter, the value of L and C need high. Okay, L and C value is very high, and first point is switching losses are there. Okay, switching losses. Why switching losses are there? Because we are switching multiple times these switches. Then third is, as this is the pulsating output. Okay, so pulsating output means uh, the harmonic content is more there. Okay, harmonic content is also more there. Okay, so in 120 and 180 there is a mathematical formulation. Okay, so as we derive, so we have not included yesterday. Why? Because we have already covered this. But if you refer the book, in the book the formula is there, derived there for the output voltage, and from that output voltage to find out how many harmonic contents are there. Okay, so the Fourier series is applied to that particular output voltage formula, and from that it is concluded how much is the harmonic content is there in the particular rectangular pulse at the end of the inverter. Okay, so from that formulas and this calculation, it is observed that the harmonic content is more in the two level inverter. Okay, so that is, these are the three important reasons. Uh, because of these three drawbacks of the two level inverter, we need to shift from two level to multi level inverter. Okay, so generally if you see which the inverters which we use in the residential applications, okay, so these are not the multi-level inverters, these are the two level inverters. Okay, why? Because these inverters we are using for low voltage low current application, whereas the inverters which are used in the high voltage and high current application, there in that inverter the necessity of having the pure sinusoidal waveform at the end of inverter is very important. So to maintain that, it is very difficult to get this pure sinusoidal waveform from the two level inverter. So in that case we have to use this multi-level inverters. Okay, so let us understand this concept of this multi-level inverter. Okay, so you can see this. So here we have the input voltage DC voltage. Okay, so as inverter operation we know it is DC to AC operation. So obviously our input is DC. Okay, so that DC is first connected to the capacitors. Okay, so these capacitors acts as the energy banks for at the input side. Okay, and we are using these charged capacitors to produce the output. We are taking these capacitors one by one into the circuitry, and then we are increasing the levels in the output. Okay, so you just see here, here we have input capacitors are there. Then here DC to AC power processing system. So power processing system means here we have the switches. Okay, so that switches can be anything. It can be SCR, it can be IGBT, it can be MOSFETs. Okay, so we use this multi-level inverter circuitry in this part, and here is our load. Okay, so it can be anything. It can be a motor, it can be a generator. Okay, so whatever is the load, we can drive from this. Okay, so concept here it is shown here. So you just see here our total input voltage is VDC. Total input voltage is VDC. So if you see here the capacitors are connected. Okay, so how many capacitors we have to connect? Again, uh, that count of the capacitors is based on, is again depend on how much is the level of output we want is at the end of the inverter. Okay, so that we'll see in that particular topology. But here you just for understanding the concept, you just see here the multiple capacitors are connected here. So what happens, and these capacitors are having the same values. Okay, suppose this capacitor is of 0.5 microfarad, then all capacitors are having the same values, zero point 0.5, zero point 0.5, zero point 0.5. So what is the significance of keeping these capacitor values same? The input voltage is divided across the capacitor is same. Okay, suppose these are the four capacitors are there, and suppose the input voltage is 20. So here 5 volt is divided across each capacitor. Okay, then here at the end, after the capacitor circuitry, our next circuitry is our switching circuitry, where we use the switches. Okay, now you just see here. Now to understand this concept, here only the single switch is taken here, and you can see this. Here is there, these are the multiple points. Okay, and here there is a single point. It means this single point can be thrown on these multiple points, okay, to produce the output. So suppose here it is a 5 volt. As I told you, our input voltage is 20 volt, and suppose four capacitors are there. So 5 volts come across C4, 5 volts come across the C3, 5 volts comes across C2, and 5 volts comes across C1. Okay, so this equal voltage division is possible because of the same value of the capacitor. Okay, so now I have to produce the output. Okay, so you can see this. Now as I have to produce the output, multi-level output. And so to get the multi-level output, I have to take the capacity one by one into the circuitry, and then I have to produce. Okay, suppose if I take initially um the C1 capacitor. Okay, and it means this point or this switch is now connected to this V5 point. So how uh, the circuit will be traced? Okay, so you can see uh, here from this point, positive point, current will flow. Okay, in this way, it will flow through this. Okay, it will flow through the, sorry, here it will initially flow through the load. Okay, it will flow through the load, and then it comes to this point, and then it is closed. It means I have taken only this 5 volt across this load. Okay, so I have produced here the first 5 volts. Next what I am doing, now I have to take the two capacitors into the circuitry. Okay, so this C1 and this C2. So this 5 volts and this 5 volts, it becomes 10 volts. Okay, So now I connect this switch to this point. Okay. Look how the current will flow. So current will flow. See, current will flow from this V5 point. It will flow through the load and it will come to this V3 point. It means now I have taken the 10 volt across the capacitor. So now from 5 volts to 10 volt output is produced from this point. Okay. Again, so as I told you in the previous slides, okay. So in this way, these pulses are produced. Okay. So you can see this. First pulse is this, and second is this, and this third is this. Okay. So after this, what happens? Again, we have to take the 5 volts. It means again we have to take C1 into the circuitry, and then we have to produce the zero output. Means we don't have to turn on any switch from this. Okay. And for negative half, we have to use these capacitors at the lower end, and we have to produce the output in this way. Okay. The same which we have produced in the positive half. Okay. So in this way we have to produce the output. Now you see this, just see this. This is the multi-level output. Okay, so what is the level? This is first level. Okay, 10 volt is here. This is the second level, which is 5 volt is there, and this is third level, which is 0 volt is there. So this is 3 level output now produced. Okay, so what is the significance of this? See, if we apply the filter or if we connect the filter at the end, how we get the waveform? We get the waveform in this way. Okay, we will get the waveform in this way, sinusoidal waveform. So you just see here we have that unwanted part in the two level inverter. Okay, so here if you see there is no any unwanted part is present there. Okay, so that is the reason what happens, the harmonic contents or the ripples or the pulsating nature of the output is reduced. Okay, and easily without filtering also we get the pure sinusoidal waveform. Or if we compare the size of the filter which we are using in the two level inverter, the size of the filter will be less in the three level inverter. So that is the significance of this multi level inverter. Okay, so that is the reason we are shifting from two level inverter to multi level inverter. Okay, I hope you understand this concept. Okay, so ahead to this, again, as we increase the level of the output, unwanted part is removed majorly as compared to this first two inverters, first two level inverters, two level, three level. Now how much level is here? It's first, second, third, and it is fourth. Okay, so to increase the levels, what happens? The harmonic content or the pulsating nature of the output is reduced, and we get a pure sinusoidal waveform. Okay, or even if we use the filter, generally getting a pure sinusoidal waveform at the end of the any inverter is not directly possible. We have to use the inverter. So we have to use the filter circuit there. Okay. Even though we are using the filter, but the size of the filter, the Ln value of the LNC is reduced. So that is the reason we get a pure. So the cost which is invested against LNC in two level as compared to the two level, the cost invested in LNC is less. Okay, so that is the reason we are using the multi-level output. Okay, and this inverter is named as a multi-level inverter because at the end we get the multiple levels, and from this we are producing the output. So that is the reason it is named as a multi-level inverter. So I hope you understand the concept. Okay, so any doubt in this? Any doubt in this multi-level concept? because this concept, uh, once you understand this concept, okay, then you understand the further three topologies are there. Okay, so if you want, you can ask this concept. Yes, anyone?
So depending on the band selection, we can generate different levels of output. That is two level, three level.
Yes.
So in that case, our filter circuitry will change, or what will happen?
Uh, See, as we increase the bands, okay, so let us consider this. This is A, this is B, and this is C. Okay, so here there is two level output, here three level, and here it is suppose four level output is there. Okay, so here if you see the size of the filters, okay, filter will be there in any inverter. Why? Because we have to get a perfect sign. Okay, and generally the output of any inverter is produced is in the rectangular form. Okay, so in two level it is one complete rectangle. In multi level, what we are doing, we are chopping this rectangle. Okay, so chopping this rectangle means what? We are taking the multiple levels from the same level. Okay, suppose this is the two level. Okay, so this is two level. So let us understand what we are doing here. Okay, then we understand. This is two level. Okay, so what we have done, okay, we have this chop this. Okay, what we have done only, we have chopped this waveform in this. Just try to understand this. Okay, then again from this we have chopped this in this way. Okay, now you will get the answer from this. Okay, so here this is a three level inverter. This is three level. Okay, and this red portion is a two level inverter. Okay, so it is two level. Okay, so filter will be there, but the the size of the filter or the value of the filter can be changed. Okay, in two level, to eliminate this part, this part, the section which I am doing here. Okay, to eliminate this part, the size of the filter will be more. Okay, and in this, with reference to this blue part, okay, there is no any unwanted part, no any major unwanted part is there. Okay, very small part will be there, maybe this size. Okay, why? Because we get the sign in this with respect to this blue part. Okay, so only this part is unwanted there, and in two level, this much part is the unwanted. So obviously the size of the filter will be reduced when we go for the multi-level inverter or the multi-level concept. Okay, so we are chopping that two levels into the multiple levels to get a pure sine wave. Okay, or you can also compare this. Okay, so if you are not getting this my diagram, you can see. Okay, part of the output. So now I don't want this. I don't want this. Okay. So here, what is the unwanted part? Here unwanted part is this. Here is also there is unwanted part. So now you can just guess. You can guess from this. Okay. So size of the filter is reduced. Okay, or the purity of this sinusoidal waveform as compared to this first two, or first, the purity of the sine is more in the second and third waveform. Okay, filter will be there, value will be changed. Okay, as we increase the multiple levels. Okay, suppose, for example, we start from 2 levels, then suppose 3 levels, suppose 5 levels, 7 levels, 9 levels. Okay, so as we go on increasing the levels in the output, unwanted part is automatically eliminated from the system. Okay, but not 100% eliminated from the output. Okay, why? Because some part will be there. Okay, so which can be a negligible. Okay, and to again vanish this, we need a filter which is of very small value. Okay, in that case, suppose if we don't use the filter, sometimes that is also fine. Why? Because as we are increasing this level, it means we are neglecting the unwanted, more unwanted part from the output. Okay, so the purity of getting the sinusoidal waveform at the end of the inverter is increasing as we are increasing the multiple levels in the output. Okay, so that is the concept. Simple आहे की जसं तुम्ही आउटपुटला लेवल वाढवताय, तसं आउटपुट मधला अनवॉन्टेड पार्ट हा बाय डिफॉल्ट निघून चाललाय. लक्षात आलं? त्यामुळे तुमचा फिल्टरचा साईज, फिल्टरचा जो साईज आहे तो काय व्हायला लागलाय, कमी व्हायला लागलाय. कारण अनवॉन्टेड पार्ट आपण काय करतोय, लेवल इन्क्रीज करतोय आउटपुटची, म्हणजेच आपण अनवॉन्टेड पार्ट काढून टाकायला लागलो. लेवल इन्क्रीज का करायची? वाय? बिकॉज वी हॅव टू eliminate the unwanted part. Why? Because we have to shift to the more purified sinusoidal waveform. Okay, so as we go on increasing the level, unwanted part is majorly eliminated. So that is the reason size of the filter will be less. Okay, you get this?
So yes, sir. Means can we adjust the value of filter if we go for 2 level
Yes.
to 3 level?
Yes, yes, we can adjust the value of the filter. Again, you just see how we can adjust the value of the filter. Okay, the value of the filter is depend on your harmonic content in the output. Okay, and to find out the harmonic content in the output, you have to apply. If you are using the mathematical tool, then you have to apply Fourier series and you have to calculate which harmonic is dominant in the output. Suppose third harmonic is dominant, seventh harmonic is dominant, then you have to design the filter to eliminate this third and fifth harmonic. Okay, as you increase the number of levels, suppose this third and seventh harmonic is present in 3 levels. Okay, suppose if you go for the 5 level output, then when you go for 5 level output, suppose in the 5 level output, you do the harmonic analysis and you find out only third harmonic is there. Okay, then you have to design the filter only to eliminate the third harmonic from the system. You don't design for the seventh or any other harmonic. Okay, so obviously one component, this seventh harmonic, is by default is eliminated from the system, from your output, when you shift from 2 to 5. Okay, and suppose uh, if you shift from 5 to 7, okay, maybe the third harmonic is present, but the magnitude and the contribution is very small. So in that case, based on this nature of this harmonic, again size will be reduced. Okay, so even though we are shifting from 2 level to the multiple levels, accordingly, depending on the harmonic content in the output, we can design the filter. Okay, so filter designing is purely based on the harmonic content, not the unwanted part in this. Unwanted means the harmonic. Okay, so based on this, you have to design the filter. Okay, so this is the concept. Now you just understand this concept. Okay, so based on this concept, there are three types: diode clamp multi-level inverter, flying capacitors. Okay, capacitors is there, capacitors multi-level inverter, and cascaded multi-level inverter. So these are the three important or the three basic. Okay, when the multi-level concept was introduced. Okay, so in that case, it comes with these three concepts. Okay, first diode clamp, then flying capacitor, and then cascaded multi-level inverter. Okay, so we'll see one by one what is meant by diode clamp. So in diode clamp multi-level inverter, so if you see here, okay, so I have directly taken here the circuit diagram. Okay, so let us understand here how this circuit is drawn. Okay, so here if you see diode clamp multi-level inverter, it is called as diode clamp multi-level inverter. The reason is because we are using these diodes here to clamp the voltages at the output side. That is the reason this method is named as a diode clamp multi-level inverter. Okay, so if you see this, here we have total, these are the SA1, SA2, SA3, SA4, SA1 dash, SA2 dash, SA3 dash, SA4 dash. These are the thyristors are used. Okay, here we can also use the MOSFET, here we can also use the IGBT. Okay, and this part is referred as a switches, or it can also be called as a switch. That switch can be anything, any semiconductor. Okay, and these diodes D1, D2, D3, D4, or this D minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4. Okay, so these are called as a freewheeling diodes. Okay, so freewheeling means you already know this freewheeling diode. So freewheeling means what? Whatever is the energy stored in the load. Okay, to discharge this energy, you have to provide some path. Okay, and these freewheeling diodes provide the path for the energy stored in the load, and through that freewheeling diode, that energy is dissipated. Okay, that energy is because of the circulation from load to this freewheeling diode, it becomes a closed loop, and in that energy is vanished. Okay, so these are the freewheeling diodes. Now these are the clamping diodes. These are called as a clamping diodes. Okay, why clamping? Because we are using this to clamp the voltages. Okay, now you will see there are some formulas for this. Okay, standard formulas for, suppose if we want to produce, okay, if we want the output of M level, okay, M level. So M can be anything, 3, 5, 7, it can be anything, M level. Okay, then to produce a M level output, okay, how many number of switches we want? So for that there is one formula. Number of switches we want 2 into M minus 1. Okay, so now this circuit diagram is of 5 level diode clamp multi-level inverter. Okay, so if our value of M is 5, then 5 minus 1, 4, 4 into 2 is 8. So you can see this SA1, SA2, SA3, SA4, and again SA1 dash, SA2 dash, SA3 dash, SA4 dash. Okay, so these are 4. So total 8 switches we want. So that formula satisfies. Okay, so if you go for the 7 level output, then 7 minus 1, 6. 6 into 2, 12 switches you need. Okay, 12 switches means again you have to connect the 4 more switches in series with this. If you go for 7 level. Okay, so how much switches we want? The diode clamp multi-level inverter. For that we have this formula 2 into M minus 1. Okay. Second, how much capacitors we want, the number of capacitors. Okay, for number of capacitors there is a formula m minus 1. So as this circuit is referred for uh, the 5 level inverter, 5 level inverter. So here 5 m is stands for 5. So 5 minus 1 is 4. So you can see here C1, C2, C3, C4. 4 capacitors will be there. If you go for 7 level, 7 minus 1, 6 capacitors will be there. Okay, we have to add 2 more in series. If you go for 9 level output, 9 minus 1, 8. 8 capacitors we have to add. Okay, similarly for number of switches, if you go for 9 level, 9 minus 1 is 8. 8 into 2, 16. So you have to use the 16 switches are there. So as this is the very fundamental method of multi-level inverter, which is first introduced as a multi-level inverter topology. So uh, there is a limitation of using this diode clamp multi-level inverter. As we go for the multiple level, the switches are increased in the circuitry, which makes the system or which makes the circuitry complex. Okay, so generally up to 5 level or up to 7 level, this diode clamp multi-level is used, not for 9 level, 12 level. We can produce the output, we can do this, but the size of the circuitry and the nature of the circuitry, the complexity of the circuitry is increased. Okay, so these are the formulas and the clamping diodes. Okay, number of clamping diodes. How much the diodes we want. Okay, so for that there is a formula m minus 1 into m minus 2. So if we are referring the 5 level inverter, then 5 minus 1 into 5 minus 2. So 4 into 3. Total 12 clamping diodes are required. Okay, so here to reduce the complexity in the circuitry, um, here only one is referred. Here I will multiply it by 2. Here multiply here by 3. Multiply means here 2 diodes are there, here 3 diodes are there. Okay, similarly here uh, one diode is there, here 2 will be there, and here 3 will be there. Okay, so we can count it now. So here 1, 2, 3. Okay, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9, 10, 11, and this is 12. DA3 is 12. So in this way, we get 12 for 5 level inverter. Okay, so if you see, if you go for the 7 level, then 7 minus 1 into 7 minus 2. Okay, 6 into 5. So total 30 clamping diodes are required. Okay, so these are the important formulas. Okay, for the diode clamp multi-level inverter, and let us see how they are connected. Okay, so here first all the switches are connected in series. SA1, SA2, SA3, SA4. Okay, so these switches help us to produce the positive level output in the or the pulses on the positive side. Okay, whereas this SA1 dash, SA2 dash, SA3 dash, SA4 dash, these switches help to produce the pulses in the negative side of the output. Okay, so this is the midpoint we have taken here. Okay, and we are taking the output at this point with respect to this neutral point, as the potential of this point, potential of this is considered here as a 0. So this will be our neutral point, and we are getting the output across this. We are producing the output across this. We are taking output across this. Okay, now to produce the output, we have to switch the SCR, or which we have to switch the switches into our circuitry. So how to switch this? We have to use the controller. Okay, if we think this circuit from the hardware point of view, we have to use some controllers. Okay, we have to write a code in the controller as per our need or as per the sequence of the switches we are using. We have to apply gate pulse to the respective gate terminals of this SCR, and then we have to produce the output. Okay, so um, what I will do here, okay, just for understanding, I will tell you. First, see, our total input voltage is VDC. Okay, total input voltage is VDC. So as we are going for 5 level inverter, so okay, so this circuit diagram is for 5 level inverter I have taken. So for 5 level, okay, so for 5 level switches I need, how much switches I need? 2 into 5 minus 1, that is 8. Okay, then capacitors, how much capacitors I need? As I want to produce the output of 5, so 5 minus 1, 4 capacitors I need. Okay, and diodes. Okay, so you don't count these diodes, huh? These diodes are different. You don't count these diodes. Okay, now otherwise you might have a question. Okay, I will write here the clamping diodes. Clamping diodes, m minus 1 into m minus 2. So here 5 minus 1 into 5 minus 2. So 4 into 3, total 12 diodes. So 12 diodes we have to use on this side, clamping side. These are the freewheeling diodes. There is no any connection between this freewheeling and this clamping diode. The function of this clamping diode is different. Okay, or the application of this clamping, application of the diode, here we have used as a for clamping purpose, and the diode which we have used in anti-parallel to the switches is for the freewheeling purpose. Okay, so here I told you this formula to calculate the number of clamping diodes only, not there is no any inclusion of the freewheeling diodes. Okay, so here I need a 12 diodes. So as I told you, to avoid the complexity, I have represented only one, but there are two diodes. Here I have here total three, but I have represented only one. Okay, so in this way we have to do this. Okay, and we have to connect the capacitors in series. Okay, so as our input is DC, capacitors here we are using, that is also DC. It means they are unidirectionally polarized capacitors. So here there will be terminal positive negative, positive negative, positive negative terminal will be there for the capacitors which we have connected in series. Okay, now you just see this VDC. Now this all these capacitors used are of the same value. Okay, so that is the reason this VDC is equally divided across this every capacitor. Okay, so as there are four capacitors, so VDC by 4 will be there. Okay, VDC by 4 is there. Here there is a VDC by 4 across this C3. Here is also VDC by 4, and here there is also across C1 VDC by 4. So this input is divided equally across each capacitor. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to take this VDC sequentially into the circuit, and we have to produce the output. Okay, so first we'll take VDC by 4, then we take one more VDC by 4 plus VDC by 4, total 2 VDC by 4. 2 VDC by 4 means, so this is VDC by 4, then 2 VDC by 4 will be here. Okay, so from this point we are shifting to this point. Again we take one more, so here we'll get 3 VDC by 4 as we include, suppose first we get C4, then we take C3, then we take C2 into circuitry, then for C2 VDC by 4 plus VDC by 4 plus VDC by 4, total 3 VDC by 4. So from this we produce the output in this way. Okay, 3 VDC by 4, and as we include C1, so VDC by 4, VDC by 4, VDC by 4, VDC by 4, total 4 VDC by 4, 4 VDC by 4 means here total, here it is VDC. Okay, so from this we get this. So this is first level, second level, third level, okay, fourth level, and one here I have missed here, which is this zero level. Okay, so total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels output is produced. Now how this output is produced? Okay, I will tell you through the switching table and through the mode of operations of this uh, diode clamp inverter. Okay, tomorrow in the lecture I will tell you in detail how this output is actually produced. Okay, so right now I told you only the concept. Okay, so tomorrow we'll go through this same inverter through the mode of operations and through the switching table. There you will understand better how this 5 level output is produced. Okay, so right now you just only remember these formulas. These formulas are very important. Okay, as you go on increasing the levels, by using these formulas you can calculate how many switches, how many capacitors, how many clamping diodes you need into the circuit. Okay, so this is only restricted to this diode clamp modulator. But as we go for the remaining topologies, there will be slight changes in the formulas. Okay, so this is the concept of this multi-level inverter. Okay, so I hope you understand this. So today we stop here. Okay, so if any query, you can ask. Otherwise, we are going to extend this diode clamp tomorrow with the mode of operations and the switching table. Okay, so any doubt or shall we stop here?
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Sir, why two or three clamping diodes are required in the branch?
the 2 or 3 clamping diodes is required. You see, here we have only one switch. Okay, here. Okay, you just see this SA1 we have. Okay, so only this much of is the voltage, whatever is the voltage is across there, this one diode can sustain. But as we go to this the different or the second intermediate point, the voltage is more. Okay, voltage across this switches is more. So to sustain that voltage, we need to increase the diodes, because we ultimately we have to clamp this voltage level, and to clamp this voltage level, this single diode will not able to clamp. So that is the reason we have to add one more into the series of this. Okay, so as we are going to clamp the next level, again you just see these three switches are there. Okay, so whatever is the voltage, that voltage has to be clamped by this diode, so that single diode is again not having the potential to clamp this voltage. So again we have to increase the two more diodes if there is repeat. You understand this?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So to increase the clamping capacity, voltage clamping capacity, as per the need we have to add. Okay, so we stop here. Thank you, thank you all.